Hello, this is Stephen Jules Rubin. Welcome. This is Stephen Jules Rubin. Welcome. This is not the Jean Cocteau Cinema, as you probably can see. It is, however, the current headquarters for the Julesworks Follies. Normally, the Julesworks Follies does take place live at the Jean Cocteau Cinema, owned by Mr. George R.R. Martin. The Julesworks Follies live variety show has been taking place for, hard to imagine, almost 9 to 10 years now. We have several venues that closed under us. We started at Warehouse 21. Julesworks used to make feature plays, STEM films, and there was a push around 10 years ago to start doing something, but no one had time, energy, or ideas for a full play or talent. But they did have Stephen Jules Rubin, Bianca Borg, and others, Willerud, who were only in the show for a very short time. They moved away. And we started a variety show. Tone Forest helped push it over the years. And Warehouse 21, we did it at the venue, the Lucky Bean, closed. Rouge Cat, closed. Aztec Cafe, closed. Even Teatro Paraguas, one of our performers tonight, is the founder of. And then the Jean Cocteau had been reopened by George R.R. Martin, rescued, and we were able to start our show. As George R.R. Martin had said, Julesworks was trying to bring vaudeville back. We had no idea what vaudeville was. Stephen Jules Rubin did some research, and the Julesworks Follies continued with various members. It has always had a policy or a dream, goal, whatever you want to say, of being inclusive, in that anybody who wishes to perform, of any age, any talent level, any experience level, any variety, any gender, any, what have you. Anyone has always been welcome, and still is, per Stephen Jules Rubin, to perform in the Julesworks ensemble. So the members have changed. They have altered due to gender alterations, to moving away, to divorce, death, just hating the show, having better things to do, paying real gigs, various reasons. But many of the performers that you'll see throughout this coming show have been generously donating their time and energy and passion and efforts to Julesworks, and some are new. And this is the first not live variety show. The 63rd Julesworks Follies was meant to happen at the end of April. It would have been our not quite monthly live annual-ish anniversary's birthday episode. We did our year-end blowout, and we did our February not quite annual Valentine's show, and this was the next show to happen. We did used to do it monthly, but it is too much work and we're lazy, and it's better to do it well and not necessarily worry about when. So we are trying to stage the show around holidays and special occasions and that sort of thing. And anyway, the show is always an array of skits, playlists, music, poetry, and much more. It is not necessarily comedy, but it isn't, usually on the lighter, funny side, although in the earlier years it wasn't necessarily. There were plays, there still can be, but it just depends on what people want to contribute. And thanks to, I will say, even though we all know, just in case this is being watched in the future, George Martin just bought a train. So this could be like that Tom Hanks movie, being watched anywhere around the universe. Any species, we hope, will enjoy the next couple hours of music, poetry, skits, music, and more, like I said, by these various folks. But what was I? Oh gosh. Well, that's okay. Forgetting thoughts is a sign of brilliance. And anyway, thanks to I know what I was saying was that I would just even though you know at this current moment why it wouldn't be live, because although things are slowly opening up, and hopefully not wrongfully, theaters are not open yet. And so we have been putting together as best we can this not live movie file version. And anyone who's edited film or anything knows that it is a lot of time. And Jules Rubin, while he may have had time, doesn't have a whole lot of talent, particularly with editing or experience or the proper computer gear that you might hear trying to process the file. So anyway, this intro is really just meant to welcome you, to thank George R.R. Martin and the team and staff of the Jean Cocteau for putting this on their virtual cinema, to thank you for watching whenever you are, and to thank all these folks that have contributed throughout the night. There is a host I will introduce shortly. So between each piece, the host will appear to give any needed info. But you're going to see the tradition of Gregg Turner opening in the live show. You're going to see a new contributor who was going to be in the live show, Bird Thompson. Danette Sills, who has been in many shows, has contributed by it, and nobody touched one another. Nobody. I've been here this entire time. I mean, not just the person I'm going to introduce has, and Zoom and other ways we connected, and folks sent their own videos. The upside and one of the themes that became part of it as it was coming together without anyone saying was the concept of the upside of things, looking for the upside of things. So many of the pieces are about that, is that this not being live, we've been able to include people that either used to live here, that never lived here, and some people I've never met. Bird Thompson joins for the first time. Danette Sills returns. Leeman Kessler has performed at the Jean Cocteau on his own, but is a small-town mayor in Ohio. And Lenny Hoffman used to live here, but has not for years. Centerpiece. Jim Jones was recently on Jules Rubin's radio show out of Madrid, New Mexico, and Jules Rubin and Jim Jones recorded some live material from Red Shuttleworth, who Jim has met. Jules Rubin may never meet, but with Jim Jones and local notable writers like Kirk Ellis and Johnny Boggs and Tom Claggett and others, is a member of the Western Writers Association. So Jules Rubin and Jim Jones read on air some of Red Shuttleworth's poetry he graciously shared. Rose Provan is one of the most loyal performers you'll see with her ongoing Grandma Speaks piece. Melanie Lamb Faithful has seen some of Julesworks and Jules Rubin's shows and joins for the first time with her poetry, and she had brought Virginia Ress onto Jules Rubin's weekly radio show out of 96.9 FM KMRD Madrid, New Mexico, and she joins for the first time. Oliver Conant is in New York, was Zoomed, never met, but thanks to Dan Burkath, who did host one Julesworks, but is also not currently in New Mexico, they Zoomed to talk about their new podcast endeavor. And Jules Rubin is also a server at Jumbo Cafe, and manager and daughter of Chef Ahmed Obo, Mima Obo, and Jennifer Ingram took the time to do some live video footage of Jules Rubin and Bird Thompson doing some poetry safely in a park. Devin Ludlow is a very beloved maker of the zombie puppet musicals. Keith Ryan Riggs, who used to work with Jules Rubin at Jumbo Cafe, shot those. They're currently still online in these QuaranTimes. The Love That Wouldn't Die, it's called. It's a zombie apocalyptic puppet musical. So Devin Ludlow and Andy Kirkpatrick will appear in this show. Argos McCullum of Teatro Paragua, Santa Fe International Treasure, donates a piece. And the clan of Crystal Mackenzie, who have grown up on Julesworks with Jules Rubin, including young man Lanz and Lexi, have a lot of involvement in the show. Brett Berman, who used to live here and co-wrote a book with Jules Rubin that you can get on Amazon, sent a piece. He is in southern New Mexico, And we usually have a musical finale. Obviously, that's where we get the audience involved. That is often led by Terry Deers. Won't be able to happen, but we did make a piece to Terry Deers, who we have not heard from. So anyway, usually we try to get the audience involved. There's an open slot. We love interactivity, people jumping up. So from your safety of wherever you are, please take a moment to grab your imbibes. Stephen Jules Rubin at the moment is not imbibed, but the person I'm about to introduce will be slowly imbibing and putting this together very late, last minute. Not last minute on purpose, last minute because while doing a live show is a number one amount of work, doing a movie is a huge amount of work. And it's been a blessing and a task that Stephen Jules Rubin will not fail, only because he wants to honor the efforts of all the people that is why I just named them all. And lastly, one more thanks to everyone, to Chris Vivian in particular, with his tech help, Roy McPherson and Danette Sills, and Jordan and Corwin, who would be serving you drinks. So get all that going. The more you imbibe, the better off you'll be. And enjoy this array of poetry, music, videos that is going to be hosted by Jules Radio Nut, who will now be, Stephen Jules Rubin will be leaving, and you will see the show as hosted by Jules Radio Nut. Thank you for joining the Julesworks Follies 63rd, not quite live, safe, QuaranTimed episode. Stephen Jules Rubin thanks you. And hopes you enjoy the show. This has been an introduction by Stephen Jules Rubin. If you just heard a meow, that was Stanley, the 35-pound, perfectly sized, all-white Maine Coon, who will give the final note. He says enjoy the show. He's ready to eat and enjoy. And so, once more, this has been Stephen Jules Rubin. Thank you. Enjoy the show. Have a great night, day, whatever it is. Farewell. Greetings. My name is, as was introduced, Jules Otis Career Radio. I don't know about this nut thing. I'm not sure what he was talking about. Nut. I've got an empty glass toast. I'm here bunkered down in South Santa Fe, where I've been safe. Of course, no one could ever find me, and I've been here. Quarantined not by anyone else's demands. As a matter of fact, one might say I hardly leave this hobbit in here, but why would one leave this beautiful locale you'll see more of throughout the night from where I'm broadcasting and interacting safely in these QuaranTimes with people around the planet, really, the universe. As a matter of fact, there's aliens involved, all Australians as well, throughout the night, and a lot more. So thank you for logging in. We were considered, like Lady Gaga, maybe this virtual not live show ought to be a benefit, but since who the hell will pay for the crap? Since it's free is the way it's a benefit. Free, so you're logging in to see these various people, I'm sure, have gotten you, and hopefully that guy, Stephen Jules Rubin, didn't ruin the vibe and get your imbibements. As he said, this cup will not remain empty, and I didn't empty it. It's been empty. It's been empty. It's never filled yet. That's a very philosophical concept to ponder. Even more than is a glass half empty or half full. What if it was never whatever? But it's a beautiful thing. Anyway, our tradition normally when we do our live show at the Jean Carteau, as Stephen Jules Rubin said, is Gregg Turner plays music. So usually it's a Take It Away Gregg Turner, and whoever's hosting, whether it's Radio Nut. Whether it's Jules out his career, as it has been the past few shows, if you've been to them, you would recognize that radio right there where I was listening. Now I'm here watching with you. Am I watching with you? Yeah, I'm watching with you, but I'm also sharing it with you. Gosh, so many things to ponder. You could just... It's a good thing. Yeah, that's why you don't want to leave it. That's why you fill the cup. Because otherwise you'll ponder yourself and explode. So anyway, I will say now, take it away, Gregg Turner, and you will see a video made by. This first one is Gregg Turner alone. Recorded at a place in Austin. He recorded live for 30 people in a beautiful set, as you'll see. There was a version he recorded live in Taos that I liked because there was some sort of tiger thing they put there, but this is the version that is high quality and requested by Gregg Turner. Gregg Turner, the tradition has been Gregg plays pretty much always the first song. Sometimes due to children and things, he has to leave. It turns out he lives a few blocks away, but none of us have interacted. We've all been clean and safe, usually masked, for safety and all that. In these quarantine times, you know how important that's been. Anyway, he plays his song. But Gregg Turner has besides local notoriety, has a claim as one of the founding members and singer and guitarist of an 80s LA bubblegum pop band, the Angry Samoans, that you may have heard of or have records of. And but he now has a Gregg Turner group who will later in the night, but this is a solo from Gregg Turner. This has been the intro by Jules Radio Aficionado. Enjoy. Go get some nuts, fill your glass, and enjoy this music and video by Gregg Turner.
It's called Santa Fe. Left to call your own. No light that's bright enough in darkness and a tone. My baby's left, she's gone away. She said she's gone to Santa Fe. No words were whispered to explain. On an empty piece of paper, she just signed her name. As the days go by, wondering why there was no other way. Dark gray clouds hover in the sky, blot out the sun as the day goes by. 15 will fall when the shade draws down. Love's running out on the dark side of town. The brown haze of summer, it's sifting through the trees. The freeways of downtown LA, but not in Santa Fe. His food is getting cold, should she leave it on his plate? But now his eyes, they're open wide, and sweat pours down his face. And he starts to cry as the smoke-filled sky chokes off the light of day. There's no happy ending.
Wow, that was sure something. This is Jules Radio's Career back with you. That was Gregg Turner doing a song Santa Fe, and we thank Gregg for sending that video. Like I said, we alter ego. Every alter ego needs an alter ego, so that Stephen Jules Rubin guy we're gonna leave out of this soon, hopefully. Jules is one of his characters, and Oda's career is another. Anyway, the glass is still, I promise you, just there. But this is water, happy water. I hope your glass was filled and is getting less filled and then refilled. And we're going to carry on. This next piece is the first of a segmented poetical outburst. This show has a lot more poetry than usual. Sometimes the only poetry will be Stephen Jules Rubin. Jules doing a piece, sometimes over live music. Johnny Broomdance used to be in the show. Terry Deers. Chris Diesler used to be in the before he had to work all the time. Folks would play some music, but various bands. Danette Sills' son's band one time do a beat sort of thing of offbeat poetry, as Jules calls it. But this is not Jules' poetry. This is Jules and Jim. Just a moment to let cinephiles take that reference in. Jim Jones and Jules and Jim. Radio aficionado here. Nut. There's a radio show. There's a radio station in Madrid, New Mexico, and it's not just promotion. 96.9 FM, KMRD, LP, Madrid, New Mexico. 17-mile odd that I look at my YouTube. Some Mel Brooks videos were playing to inspire me, and it worked, motivate me. It's a little surreal doing this, I have to admit. But anyway, 17 is also on the screen for some reason. Anyway, it's a 17-mile radius from the of an FM 96.9, but it streams constantly, always, www.kmrd.fm/listen, but kmrd.fm. Should you just forget all of it and someday want to check it out, it's got a whole array, just as weird as this show, I mean, as perfect as whatever, of kinds of shows. Madrid, New Mexico, obviously, would be the only one. Chopper. That's these times we're in, even Santa Fe. Fire season would be normal, but I've heard a lot of that in these QuaranTimes. What are you gonna do? But I'm safe here, where no one can find me. My cats will think I'm crazy, and they're right, but good crazy, as in the words of the great Waylon. Being crazy has kept me from going insane. And this next one, Jules and Jim doing Red Shuttleworth's poetry, and it was the reason I was mentioning radio station is that it was aired live a couple weeks ago on Metaphysical Biscuit Live Radio Soup, aka Goodbye Blue Monday, in the Rhythm of Threes. That happens airs every Monday from 2 to 4 p.m. Mountain Time on that station. And Jim Jones zoomed in live. We haven't been able to have guests, of course, but that was the first, and that is where we recorded our renditions of poems generously donated by Western Writers Association member Cowboy, apparently a rowdy, fun, amazing guy, and very brilliant poet. Cowboy mixed with Irish, and so you will hear, as performed by Jules and Jim, the words of Red Shuttleworth.
Book. Yeah. And this is the chapbook is Anymore, and the poem is For Good or For.
For Good or For is the name?
For Good or For, yeah.
For Good? Sorry. For Good
That's
or For?
For Good or For, and
Okay.
then dot, dot.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
That's okay. Cache of postcards. Stay in touch. Faint and faded Rock Springs motel bedsheet. Stale prayer in a high desert coffee shop in the rear view. I half expect Samuel Beckett's 16 sucking stones in a priority mailbox. Symptoms. A memory of tea leaf reader Agnes. That Paul Simon line about 7th Avenue bleeps. The wet, dark leaves of a buzzard sunset. I have the rosary of nowadays, a rabbit's foot, Tibetan beads, a bruise-colored summer sky. Every story features an angry father, mine. The wolfhound is running the worn, thin hallway carpet. Waylon is singing on the radio. Nothing is resolved that cannot come to grief.
That's it. All right. Beautiful. He's got to wear his words, don't he?
Yes.
He writes. Well, thank you, Jules and Jim, and Red Shuttleworth. That was powerful stuff. I do believe in the power of art. That is why we are doing this. That's why folks have donated their time and energy, and that is why Stephen Jules Rubin is spending a zillion hours with this editing madness. Thanks, Chris, again for the help. Up next, we have one of 5 throughout the night snippets. What was some of the most loyal people and that were representative of the nature of the show in some ways. Crystal McKenzie, who has been writing, making movies. When I used to do the Santa Fe Film Festival, that is where, according to her, I helped her immensely, and with John Bowman, the first manager of this Jean Cocteau cinema that is not always virtual. This is not the Jean Cocteau cinema. Nor is it George R. R. Martin's house. oh, that's a good one. Anyway, you might get to see George rerun later, by the way. Anyway, carry on. Still haven't put anything in here, I promise. Soon. I wish. Anyway, so Crystal's daughter Lexi is a big part of this show. They used to see the show. Crystal had been in the show many, many times. She is not in the show as much as she's been trying to get a movie made and other things, but she has carried on the last few shows writing a poem based on the theme of the show, or the flyer. Oh, wait, that's not the flyer. That was my birthday, thanks to my lady friend. Still got to my steak, and there's Stella, Stanley with me. That's what happens after a lot of steak and bourbon on your birthday. Anyway, the flyer's here. Well, you might have seen it. And so Crystal, but we're not even there yet, so I don't know when we're talking about that. Anyway, the Lanz is the son of Lexi, and little Ace, who you might see for a minute in some of these Zooms, but they're having to be edited down more than I wish I could share more, by the way, or Stephen Jules Rubin does, or I'm the host. It's all very intertwined. But that is why the 4-hour version that's processing is going to have to put down the version you're seeing. We hope to find ways to share some of those other things with you somehow, because some of the Zoom stuff was just a hoot that wasn't just fun to us. But anyway, Lance and Ace. Lance is part of the show for sure. A lot of puppetry. And so up next is going to be from Lance, the first of the new snippets. This one is Dolphins Get High.
How do I look? Does my hair look good? Oh shoot, we're rolling. Welcome to Jerry News Network. On tonight's show, we will watch Dolphins Get High. British men entertain themselves while also getting some exercise during quarantine. And also, Kentucky gamblers gamble on a new kind of sport. First article that we have tonight is dolphins supposedly use pufferfish to get high. Now that may sound crazy, but trust me, it's true. BBC has an entire documentary about it. Anyways.
Well, thank you, Lance. I certainly was a happy ordeal there. That news snippet, and up next is like I said, the upside of things has been able to include people. So this performer, a small town mayor from Ohio, Facebook, oddly enough, recently suggested we become friends, and as isn't normal, it is normal that Facebook, as you know, when says, "Do you want to say hi to your new friend?" something, but he said hello, and it was right as I was. Stephen Jules Rubin was putting this all together conceptually as such with the others, and I just asked him if he would want to contribute. He's twice, I think, something that George Martin helped bring. The first time, done a show where he channels H.P. Lovecraft and Carl Sagan and interacts with the audience. Very unique performer, and a small town mayor. Another one, Gregg Turner, is also while he was in those Hungry Samoans, was getting his PhD as a professor of mathematics. So, who knows? You just never know. And that's what makes life wonderful. And why it's important to be clean and safe. Anyway, this next tip comes through Leeman Kessler from H.P. Lovecraft.
Hello, I'm Howard Phillips Lovecraft, and I am deeply honored to have been invited to this rather vaudevillian soiree and join this panoply of talent. If you're unfamiliar, I am considered by some to be the grandfather of modern horror, the master of the macabre. Of course, this was all quite some time ago. You see, I died back in the 1930s, but then found myself, much to my surprise and the surprise of many of my creditors, to be reanimated in the year 2012. Since then, I have been spending my time trying to better the world by providing advice, answering questions on my popular series, Ask Lovecraft. In those 8 years, the act of helping others has been its own reward, but I found that you all, in your own rather large way, have done everything possible to make me feel more at home. Indeed, it seems like this current era is becoming more and more like the one I previously left. We have a rampant inequality, a rise in fascism. Why, you've even managed to put together a pandemic just for me. How sweet of you. And while, of course, I wouldn't dare to tell you how to roll out the red carpet, if I can offer just a little bit of my patented advice, I would suggest perhaps maybe stopping now and not feeling like you have to go to the full World War experience to make me feel most at home. Although, judging by the way things are going, none of us may have much choice in that matter. As always, I'm Howard Phillips Lovecraft. Thank you.
Wow. Well, thank you, Leeman and HP. As Leeman said, H.P. Lovecraft is, well-known, depending, author, a lot of material that inspired others, macabre kind of feel, which will come up later in the show in a different way, in a different piece. And I happen to know that this next performer, who, as I said, has been in a lot of Jules' works, but was not in the last two because she and her husband and family, along with Santa Fe theater notable Jeff Nell, right before QuaranTimed, had launched a small theater in the district near one of our other performers, Teatro Paraguas. That district of where the theater walk is, the Julesworks has been able to perform in live the last few years. By next summer, it's every summer, who knows? But Theater Santa Fe, his website, I'm happy to say Julesworks they have a calendar. I was able to keep the otherwise sad empty calendar with something in it because can't do live theater right now. There have been other theater troupes, Grotesco, I know, posting videos. But anyhow, Danette Sills, they were going. Some classes had started, and they were gonna do a play, but she returns. My point was that besides to give props to them and their efforts with their group that hopefully will carry on when things happen, was to say that is why this is a return for her, and this is a new character she's created that also, like H.P. Lovecraft, will be giving some advice and tips in these QuaranTimes. So let's see what she has to say.
Hello, I'm Professor Beatrice Beetlebaum, head of the Medieval History Department at the University of Dunkirk, Nopedal. Welcome to the first installment of my webcast, Living, Hopefully, with Pandemic, the history of human plagues and what we are going to do now. I am certain that many of you find yourselves in a world that seems very strange at the moment. You can't go to the cinema or your favorite bar or restaurant. You maintain a safe 6-foot distance from others when you are out, and indeed, you refrain from leaving your house whatsoever. Welcome to the age of pandemic. Now, while we feel generally very stressed and fearful at the moment, and for Western civilization it is indeed a stressful and fearful time, keep in mind that in the last 100 years alone the world has experienced a number of pandemics. There was the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918, the polio pandemic of the 1950s, the Asian flu of 1956 to 1958, the flu pandemic of 1968, also known as the Hong Kong flu, the AIDS HIV pandemic, which reached its peak between 2005 and 2012, and the swine flu pandemic of 2009 to 2010. In each case, there were tremendous numbers of infected people around the globe and millions of deaths. Today, we face a new virus of suspected animal-to-human transition, titled COVID-19. It is a coronavirus, related to common influenza and the common cold, but there the similarity ends. This new virus is pernicious, ranging the gamut of no symptoms whatsoever or mild ones to rapid decrease of lung function and multiple organ failure. As with a number of previous pandemics, it arose out of China, in this case the Wuhan province. And with other deadly pandemics, humans have no known immunity to the virus. So, in the next 4 segments, I will review the following. Segment 2, the Black Plague. This is the blueprint for our historical experience with pandemic, and one that significantly changed the course of human history. Segment 3, the Spanish flu of 1918. This pandemic coincided with one of the most significant historical events in modern history, World War I. In fact, one could make the argument that the conditions of the war and the world battleground in which it was fought significantly contributed to the devastating suffering and death toll of the virus. Segment 4, Modern Pandemics. I will consider the polio and flu epidemics of the 50s and 60s, along with the cultural changing effect of HIV/AIDS and the swine flu pandemic of 2009 to 2010. Each of these pandemics increased global and cultural awareness of the consequences of global disease, and in the case of HIV/AIDS, the consequences of social hatred and ignorance. Segment 5, COVID-19 and the race to stop the spread. In this episode, I will look at the facts of COVID-19 and address the response and long-term outlook. Also, in addition to every episode, we will practice together safe routines for preventing infection, especially a new hand wash song to end each episode. Thank you for joining me. And now let's all take part in a modified version of I'm gonna wash that man right out of my hair to practice proper and thorough hand washing techniques. Now, I'm going to wash that COVID off of my hands. I'm going to wash that COVID off of my hands. I'm going to wash that COVID off of my hands and send it on its way. I'm going to get that COVID off of my hands. I'm going to get that COVID off of my hands. I'm going to get that COVID off of my hands and send it down the drain. There we are. All right. Thank you so much. I am Professor Beatrice Beetlebaum. Stay well and stay safe.
Well, thank you, Danette. That was amazing and informative and fun. I love that music erupts. Music is one of the most important of the art forms. Still haven't. Anyway, speaking of music, the next piece comes. It isn't music, but it comes from someone whose music you'll see later. Thompson. Actually, interesting way he got involved in the show is that he gets to go from Jumbo a lot, where Stephen Jules Rubin works as a waiter. One time overheard the show being spoken about, and he does radio on a different station than KMRD on KSFR. He has a radio show every Friday, and he is a performer and poet. So he was going to be, like I said, in the live show, and instead we recorded safely in a park. So you'll see several snippets throughout the night. This is the first of his poem at a beautiful Santa Fe park. The audio, we did our best, and thanks to Mima Obo, who went to film school, for shooting the footage that's going to look beautiful. Couldn't do much about the noise, but hopefully you'll be able to hear Bird well enough. As I matched him up best I could. Again, film. There's a reason why Julesworks had made films and hasn't. Is that you really need a good editor. And anyway, this is the first of Bird's poem.
Doomer Buddhas, humorous doozies and don'ts for humans in reverse anguish. Crappy bird jay, and then you die. Fly somewhere, and then we of you becoming you years ago. Cello, harmonica, so many iceberg variations they offer to the sad blue jays. Happy birth, die. Mother, may your patience exceed that of Mila almost. Zoospheres of pains you can bear, much more than usual voices jump earth again now, because I remember Denver, Sierra Madre, and Bermuda. Don't block your ears, just empty cells. Breath, the world's falling apart. Time to meditate. Universe, meet another. Be silence. Beautiful dreamer, be inspirational radio DJ. Be real doing, be it, do it. Turn on the poetry and the body forth to sleep. Learn my story, mystery ABCs. Sing them to get her. Always be careful. And then, right before recess, Dick and Joni, run. You have the difficult shape and lay, surely, and a fortune to ceaselessly read. Ponderosa and medicate.
Thank you, Bird. We look forward to carrying on with that poem. And this next little bit is just a I love radio, whether I'm a nut or not. I don't know. So through my radio and video, I stumbled in when little Richard passed away recently, as you know, and found these girls, amazingly young kids, who knew that they would have even known little Richard, doing a little salute. So here's a tiny snippet of apparently they were doing this every hour. I don't know who they are, where they are. Out in the universe, things just sometimes beauty flow into us, and that is part of the beauty of the universe, is how things can virtually float around and be shared. And so enjoy.
Hi, Julesworks.
Oh, hi. Yes, that was lovely little salute there, and as we said, we believe one of the keys to life is expression, and especially now more than ever. I don't know. I really wanted to include a clip from a Zoom with Devin Ludlow where he tells reminds everyone the importance now more than ever that, and a little bit more freedom has been had, as you've seen the way other free from corporate control is what Devin said, but the way more things, I have 8 reminders set on YouTube of various artists that are going to be doing shows. The way artists have carried on has really been amazing, just like this, that really has taken a lot of effort for not just to collect the pieces, and it is long, but it's because so many people are involved. We went on to that. But anyway, the next piece, you saw Jim doing some poetry. He is a New Mexico legend and beyond, a cowboy poet and singer. And so my lovely lady friend, side note, had given me these harmonicas, and I'm slowly learning more. I can do more than I just did. But anyway, this isn't about me. This is about Jim Jones playing his first song, and oh goodness, I think he says in the name. It is in the notes here. So thank you for, as I get the, it's right in front of me. Thank you for. I hope you're enjoying so far. My cup is still empty, but maybe I ought to fix that soon. I'm just waiting. Tech stuff has to be done, and I don't want to mess it up. Rustler's Moon is the first one, an original written by Jim Jones. Take it away, Jim!
This song is called Rustler's Moon, which is also the title of my first novel, set up in northern New Mexico in the late 1800s at little town of Cimarron in Colfax County. And it's kind of based in the context of the Colfax County Wars. That was a time when the politicians in Santa Fe cared more for their lining their own pockets than they did for the well-being of their constituents. Thank goodness we're past all that. It's loosely based in historical fact, which means it's a pack of lies that I made up. Rustler's Moon.
I saw him, he was standing on a hill, looking 10 times larger than life. But I can't erase the image, I guess I never will. After all the years it cuts just like a knife. Now he said, howdy cowboy, now ain't you mighty young to travel down the road to rage and ruin. But if you got the notion, if you got a gun, we ride tonight by the light of the Rustler's Moon. He's setting out in long little travels when the moon is full and bright. The posse on your trail is hard to shake. But if you travel with the new moon, you travel without light, and your horse won't make it far if his leg breaks. The quarter moon's the answer, the old man's on your side. The time to seize the night is coming soon. So saddle up those horses, it's time for us to ride and try our luck by the light of the Rustler's Moon. 'Cause we ride at night by the light of the Rustler's Moon, shining through our souls. We live our time underneath the sky by the light of the Rustler's Moon, the Rustler's Moon. Staring at his back, by the moonlight it was all I could see. And out there on the dusty trail I think that I lost track. I wondered what was him and what was me. Time was when I swear I would have fallen into hell to fight the devil's minions in the gloom. I never could see clear enough to break his magic spell by the light of the rustlers moved. But finally the sun rose, I saw the light of day. I thanked the Lord I hadn't gone too far. No more quarter moon for me, I had to find my way by the light of a shining silver star. For though we went our separate ways, we vowed to meet again. Deep inside our hearts we both knew the law and the outlaw, it's bound to be or him in the light of the rustler's moon. 'Cause we ride at night by the light of the rustler's moon, shining through our souls. We live or die underneath the sky by the light of the rustler's moon, the rustler's moon. I saw him, he was standing on a hill, looking 10 times larger than life. Well, I can't erase the image, I guess I never will. After all the years, it cuts just like a knife. But he said, howdy cowboy, your pony sure can run. But I never thought I'd see it quite so soon. But if you plan to catch me, I hope you brought your gun, and I hope that you can aim by the light of the moon. 'Cause we ride tonight by the light of the rustler's moon, shining through our souls. We live or die underneath the sky by the light of the rustler's moon, the rustler's moon.
Wow, Jim, that was awesome. Beautiful, honest, amazing music. I feel I love that kind of stuff. Singer-songwriter music. John Prine, you know, that when he just passed away, and thanks to my lady friend, I was able to see him live twice. You know, just the outpouring of support and QuaranTimed video sharing when he passed away. Singer-songwriters, it's a beautiful thing. Whether, you know, it winds up being called country, or he, you know, Jim Jones in his case, he likes the term cowboy, but just to me, you know, obviously I love loud band music and Pink Floyd and stuff, but there's also just something beautiful about somebody looking at the camera and singing their song. Obviously live music is got his place too, and unfortunately monetarily as a musician it didn't have enough trouble. Just anyway, blah blah. So we also believe in our own ways, everyone in Julesworks, I think I can speak for them in this case, in the power of silliness. So here's a little silly snippet of a masked safety on a food truck.
Where's my sword?
Well, thanks, whoever that was. That was oh, hi. That was great. That was, it might have been Stephen Jules Rubin and Pollo. One of the main makers of food at Jumbo Cafe. Like we said, we believe in the power of foolishness to deal, and those Mel Brooks clips, as a matter of fact, he besides just being called a silly man, and sometimes I watch Robin Williams clips. Carson is often what for motivation before the live show. In this case, Mel is what they gave me, and it was great to YouTube, talking about. It's much more, Mel Brooks saying, you know, you can have much more impact getting up on a soapbox versus spoofing Hitler in the way he did. And foolishness is what I'm getting at. So, and poetry is a way I, like I said, do my offbeat spoken word. Again, this isn't about me. This is someone who hasn't lived in Santa Fe very long. She's a southern gal. We have a lot of musical tastes in common, and taste for bourbon. I gotta get some soon. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to. I'm losing it. It's 3:12 my time in the morning, and this video is 80% rendered, which means when it's done, I can start cutting to the focus. Melanie Lamb Faithful saw the show. Also, Stephen Jules Rubin helped put together Once at the Jean Cocteau, a writer's thing, and she saw that as a writer and Julesworks, and so we connected. She reached out, we ran into one another, and so turns out she's a poet, has some chapbooks, and a brand new beautiful book that I haven't got yet. She showed me via Zoom with some photos, as you'll see in the snippets. So this is the first Poetical Outburst. Melanie, take it away.
Wearing halos is known to cause headaches. They never fit the way you want. To husbands, you're a goody two-shoes. To parents, you're a sinner. Instead of a halo, I want a cluster of stars encircling my head like Virgin Mary or an honest-to-goodness goddess. That would cure all women of headaches if they could just wear goddess crowns instead of goddamn halos.
Mm-hmm. I guess foolishness. The moths have even gotten here, although, as you'll hear about moths later in the moth invasion of New Mexico currently, I know I've had it luckier thanks to, I think you might have just seen Stella go by. She loves those moths. She's good at getting them. Sort of moth-like. Anyway, you've probably noticed, if you're looking around, that we love Star Wars. And up next is not Star Wars. But we do have 2 in a row short pieces from Lanz that he videoed. The first of his little rant. And often we've had performers tried to get Yvette Martinez to join in, but school just ended. She and Gabe Cat have done what I've called, instead of monologues, rantalogues, and that's what you'll see in a bit from someone else. But this is a very short bit Lance decided to do called Dudes It's Sonic Be Like.
Fat guys at Sonic be like, I'll have 2 number 9s, a number 9 large, 2 number 46s, a number 6 with extra dip, 2 number 45s, 1 with cheese, 3 large milkshakes, and a gigantic soda. Actually, no, give me all your soda.
Well, thanks, Lance. I'm just going to tell you real quick, if you've ever done a live show or video, or I don't know, I've done stuff. This is quite interestingly surreal, recording all of these, and as time progresses and whatever, clothing. Anyway, up next is another news snippet from Jerry interviewing Sharky. That's important news.
We're gonna try and get a hold of the Dolphins right now, so I'm just gonna see if I can. Oh, it seems we're having some internet issues, but they should be arriving very. Oh, that's them. Come in.
Hi. Is this JNN?
Yeah.
The Dolphins sent me. They were too stoned, but yeah, so they sent me instead to do the interview.
Okay, but do you know them?
One of them's a fish that lives with them. He knows them, so, and he couldn't go because he had a broken fin.
Okay, well, what do you know about these dolphins?
Bye.
Okay then, we're gonna go to commercial break. Please ignore that shark that just came in for no reason. I do not know him by any chance, so please ignore him. Roll the commercials!
Well, thank you, Shaggy, Jerry, Lanz, whoever we're thanking for that snippet. I'm almost through the first page. We're at 81%. Oh, 317. You just can't. You gotta let go, not stress, and never think about time. Sherlock would say. He might do some opium. Still, I'm putting it in there. He might play his violin. He might. Anyway, up next is the next piece from Bird and his poem. Take it away, Mr. Talented Bird.
Day and night, if you can, to liberate and know self and me and you from the ocean of awesome bicycle experience of subway suffering. This is the Bodhisattvas. Way to go, man. Breathe in real deep. Your guys in Zagazig, perhaps. Get down with it. Chilliwack, babble, prose, and bubble stuff. Erg and erg and erg. Everything all the time. Alexandra, Evan, Sally, Gemma, Tasha, Erin, Isabel, Nikki. The best gal is the truth. Life's a beach, so then offer your malls to the complete works in random shuffle, not to mention Blue Jay Way. Hold up a flow as if you know, and show and sense water, food, soft silken nest also, and all the excellent planets. May beans be fried. Connect the dots, all of you in the School of Hard Knocks, not far from the Erie Lake and the birth of the T-shirt Funny Worlds. Are you gloomier than Buddha, Texas? Be as old as the hells, young as hot springs and habitats of budding, when there's nothing you can do. Cry for the cryosphere, say bye to the biosphere, the sick, extinct sun, dead heat blaze.
Well, thank you, Bird. Whew, not only am I getting thirsty and hungry, I'm tired and a little scared, but I'm not going to be scared. I just, editing. Oof, at 3:20 by 4 o'clock I can start a.m. Up next is one of the most loyal performers. In November, as a matter of fact, while I was east and there was a snowstorm here, this wonderful woman fell and coming over here to feed the cats. But she recovered and has carried on the show, and we love her. Rose Provan. She was going to do this piece, Grandma Goes Online, a while ago, but changed over the last two shows to be relevant to her fall and recovery. So this is a playlet of an ongoing character, written and performed, this time by Zoom. Rose Provan, Grandma Goes Online. Grandma got high in a previous one, so let's see what happens when Grandma, why and what happens when she goes online. Enjoy, folks. Take it away, Grandma.
Grandma is very happy right now. Even though this is a time of isolation, she's happy because she's about to go to the one place she gets to go during this time, and that is the supermarket. So I'm making my list. I'm not checking it twice. And let's see, what do I need? Yes, 19 crimes. It's all gone. So I'll put that on the list. And of course I have 14 hands. I like wines with numbers. And then I actually have 99 vines. So there we go. My list is made. I'm off to the supermarket. Oh, no. I forgot to put food on the list. I'll put some food on the list, even though I am not really thrilled with cooking for myself. I wish I had a man to cook for. It's so nice to have a man around the house, but I don't. And how will I get one? Well, just like I did when I was trying to find out more about pot for my Grandma Speaks, Grandma Smokes Pot, I went on the internet. Yes, so here we go. On to the internet to find out about online dating. And here we are. Yes, there's Senior People Meet. There's Our Time. There's Silver Singles and Elite Singles. Senior Match. Senior Circle, Over 50 Dates, Age Match. Oh my goodness. Seems like lonely seniors are a cash crop for the internet. So, I know I'll write my profile. So here we go, profile. Yes. I am a college graduate, but I'm looking for a man who maybe is a grad of grad school. And I'm retired now, but I'd like to have a man who actually has a job. And when I was working, I worked with people with disabilities. So I'd like a man in the medical field. Okay, let me try Silver Singles. Aha! My goodness, they've sent me a match already. And here he is. Oh no, Dr. Anthony Fauci. Oh, well, I don't want him. He's quarantining himself right now. And even when he gets out, he's not going to be able to go anyplace with me. He can't go anyplace alone. He has a security detail with him all the time. That's because he's gotten threats. And he's also gotten, should I call them invitations from lonely women? So if I were with him, there'd wind up with a fight between those U.S. Marshals who are guarding him and all of those horny women. And if there was a fight, oh well, I know I'd win.
Well, thank you, Grandma. So what do you think you're going to do then? You're not going to take the date with Fauci?
No, I'll have to try another one of those single websites.
But would you vote for him?
Or a lot of them.
Would you vote for him?
Oh, yes, I would vote for him. I would vote for almost anyone except, well, you know.
Almost?
President Plump.
Well, thank you, Grandma. Hope things work out. Sorry, that, Fauci isn't the one. That's from when you'll see, I guess you'll probably see it in the video from Regina Ress. Some button lover maker gave her that. And this next one, as I'm being a little silly here, if you're wondering, that does say Happy Hanukkah. And it's been up, speaking of when I go east and people have to come feed my cats, for some years. Steve Romo hung it, and I think it's so cool I left it. Anyway, up next is Argos McCullum I call him theater impresario, Santa Fe's international treasure. He and I did Cheech and Chong in a Julesworks that we had done. He is the founder and one of the main producer, director, performer, artists of the Great Teatro Paraguas, and I wanted to include more from his Zoom about the power of art and Paraguas. Again, just didn't have time, but he did donate this snippet of a macabre, as he said, perhaps timely poem by Edna St. Vincent Millay, the Harp Weaver. And I actually remember my grandmother giving me a book of Edna St. Vincent Millay's poems. We talked, it was probably written roughly in the 30s. This is Argos McCullum doing a rendition of The Harp Weaver.
Good evening. My name is Argus McCallum. I'm reading a poem called The Ballad of the Harp Weaver by Edna St. Vincent Millay, one of our greatest poets here in America. She won the Pulitzer Prize. She was the first woman to win it for her book called The Harp Weaver and Other Poems. The Ballad of the Harp Weaver. "Son," said my mother when I was knee-high, "you've need of clothes to cover you, and not a rag have I. There's nothing in the house to make a boy breeches, nor shears to cut a cloth with, nor thread to take stitches. There's nothing in the house but a loaf end of rye, and a harp with a woman's head no one will buy." And she began to cry. That was in the early fall. When came the late fall, "Son," she said, "the sight of you makes your mother's blood crawl. Little skinny shoulder blades sticking through your clothes, and where you get a jacket from, God above knows. It's lucky for me, lad, your daddy's in the ground, and can't see the way I let his son go around." And she made a queer sound. That was in the late fall. When the winter came, I'd not a pair of breeches nor a shirt to my name. I couldn't go to school or out of doors to play, and all the other little boys passed our way. "Son," said my mother, "come, climb into my lap, and I'll chafe your little bones while you take a nap." And oh, but we were silly for a half an hour or more, with me with my long legs dragging on the floor, a rocking into a Mother Goose rhyme. Oh, but we were happy for half an hour's time. But there was I, a great boy, and what would folks say to hear my mother singing me to sleep all day, and in such a daft way? Men say the winter was bad that year. Fuel was scarce and food was dear. A wind with a wolf's head howled about our door, and we burned up the chairs and sat upon the floor. All that was left us was a chair we couldn't break, and a harp with a woman's head nobody would take, for pity or pity's sake. The night before Christmas, I cried with the cold. I cried myself to sleep like a 2-year-old. And in the deep night, I felt my mother rise and stare down upon me with love in her eyes. I saw my mother sitting on the one good chair, a light falling on her from I couldn't tell where, looking 19 and not a day older, with a harp with a woman's head leaned against her shoulder. Her thin fingers, moving in the thin, tall strings, were weaving wonderful things. Many bright threads, from where I couldn't see, were running through the harp strings rapidly, and gold threads whistling through my mother's hand. I saw the web grow and the pattern expand. She wove a child's jacket, and when it was done, she laid it on the floor and wove another one. She wove a red cloak, so regal to see. "She's made it for a king's son," I said, "and not for me." But I knew it was for me. She wove a pair of breeches. Quicker than that, she wove a pair of boots and a little cocked hat. She wove a pair of mittens. She wove a little blouse. She wove all night in the still cold house. She sang as she worked, and the harp strings spoke. Her voice never faltered, and the thread never broke. And when I awoke, there sat my mother, with the harp against her shoulder, looking 19 and not a day older, a smile about her lips and a light about her head, and her hands in the harp strings, frozen, dead.
Wow. Vincent Price would be proud. So would I say Vincent Millay. Perhaps that would have fit a Halloween show as well. But, we're the kind of people that believe holidays can be whenever you want them if you love those holidays. If you love Halloween, if you love Christmas. My cat happens to love Christmas, Mr. Stanley. The colors, the things, I don't know. I don't judge. I just exist. I think up next, I don't know that the Zoom chatter, as I said, I'm looking at my list, will make it. But we do have another song. Speaking of having my list, I just realized Jim Jones performing another original. It's a cowboy I will be. Jim, this shouldn't be empty. Take it away, Jim.
Well, this is a song called It's a Cowboy I Will Be. It's a song about Scottish immigrants that came out west to be cowboys back in the 1800s. And it's a song that's been really good to me. I recorded it with the group The Cowboy Way. It's a trio that I'm a part of, and this song was chosen to be the Western Song of the Year by the International Western Music Association back in 2019. And it got us to Scotland. It tells the story of immigrants that were forced out of the Highlands of Scotland in the 18th and 19th centuries, and a lot of those folks went to New Zealand or Australia and worked cattle or sheep, but a bunch of them came here and came out west, and they had about 1,000-year history in the Scottish Highlands of working with cattle, so they knew what they were doing. And here we go. It's Cowboy I Will Be.
You take the high road and I'll take the low. I'll be Scotland for ye. Me and true love will never meet again on the bonny, bonny banks of Loch Lomond. Born in the Highlands, the cattle kept us fed. As a wheel that I came to be a drover. Underneath the stars is what I made my bed, living on black pudding with the whiskey chaser. Well, I thought the reavers as we drove the hurting sky across those wild levels of Killarney. Survey potato cannon, but the clearance flying by, certainly packing across that wide Atlantic Sea. So you take a high which we take the low road to. You'll be in Scotland, they hold me, hold headed out west, keep up going and the west. Very well, it's a cowboy I will be. I came to America and made my way out west to St. Louis and all the way to Denver. I learned to rope and ride, I conquered every test. Now we're driving a herd up to Montana. We crossed the swollen rivers, lost a man with stampede. Well, I was playing that kept me smiling. They call the reavers rusters here, they don't frighten me. I'm a fighting Scottish lad on the highway. So take a high road to take the low road to. They hold me, hold on headed out west, keep up going and the west. Very well, it's cowboy I will be. I miss Mama, I miss the sweet Eileen, I miss the heather in the highlands. It's lonely in the west, the weather's hard indeed, and this cowboy life on lives mighty trying. But I'm Angus MacDonald, come from hardy Highland stock, I swore I'd never take a knee. I'll never make your gaze a poker Scotland once again. I call it cowboy life today. So, keep the high road you take the road up to. You'll be a scholar before me. From headed out west, you buckle in the west. Very well, it's a cowboy life today. Take a high road you take the road up to. You'll be a scholar before me. I'm headed out west, you buckle and the rest. Very well, it's a cowboy life will be. I'm headed out west, you buckle and the rest. Very well, it's a cowboy life will be. So you take the high road and I'll take the low road. I'll keep Scotland for you. It's a cowboy I will be.
Well, thank you, Jim. I couldn't find a cowboy hat. I have one somewhere. I'm very good at not finding things, but I found me my bolo. I do believe the hat makes the man no matter what. You got to have a hat. Sorry, indoors or not. Here in the Hobbit Den, wherever you are, being properly attired. Comfortable is a key to life. Life is short, and it should be enjoyed. I'm very good at not finding things, as I said, and I was trying to do that, but I couldn't find it. I put this together. I'm very proud. That was a model kit. Anyway, yes. Speaking of unique people, again, I wanted to include more of this Zoom. In particular, Devin Ludlow has been making the Love That Wouldn't Die, and they've aired it. The Jean Cocteau started off just on a phone camera with his wife and a slew of local talents. Jesse Deluxe got involved later. Jesse Deluxe's mother, who performed at the Jean Cocteau, an event that I helped put together. She was in a horror movie long ago, Phantasm, that has a huge following. She now lives here, and anyway, is one of the many people that Devin has gotten in his 3 episodes involved. Like I said, Keith Ryan Riggs, who worked at Jumbo Cafe with Stephen Jules Rubin. Shot them. The second episode, they grew, and The Love That Wouldn't Die, zombie puppet musical, and a little more gear. It was right when the former College of Santa Fe University of Art and Design closed, and they were able to access, it is still a film studio, as a matter of fact, able to access all of the gear. And then the third one, they had a red camera, something. Anyway, in the QuaranTimes, he's put the Love That Wouldn't Die trilogy on, and also decided, like many, to do his thing from home. And so this one is a snippet with like I said, I wanted to have more of the chat. Devin's been on my radio show several times, and we just have I dare say, a good energy, and but he's a talent and an amazing, and he has a lot of things to share. And here's a snippet. This was the New Year's snippet. It was one of the greatest texts I ever got that he sent, and I will brag that I was able, with my lady friend, and we had a great time to, for the third, anyway, perform some stand-up offbeat spoken word. It was the third year. On the plaza, thanks to the New Year's Eve bash that was put on. Again, we'll see about whether... But anyway, this isn't about me. This is going to be... Where are we? Devin Ludlow and... I don't know if we're going to get to air the clever joke we made of, as he said, about was I pulling a hat trick with this whole thing and getting him involved. But this is the New Year snippet, and you'll see more later. Take it away.
Whoa, hey there. I didn't see you on the TV. I was too busy partying down at my 2020 New Year's party. Here's to the end of 2019. Woo! Woo! 2019. Just a quick review of 2019. It was like just the worst year ever. Just the worst. We all realized we had 10 years to get it done and we just didn't do it. We just didn't do it. And now it's 2020. Woohoo! Alright folks, so here we go. Let me get my cocktail out. Just gotta get ready to toast the new year here. New decade. The whole thing. Oh yeah, here's my cocktail. Alright, here's to 2020. Glug, 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 glug. Ah, delicious. It tastes like 10 fresh years of opportunities to fail. So here you go, folks. The 2010s are over. It's time for the 20s. The roaring, screaming, animal-like, beast-filled 20s. From me to you, Happy New Year.
Speaking of hats and time, we're carrying on right away. This is more of the poem by Bird Thompson.
Queensland, Australia, near Kangaroo Point. It's too late. David Byrne and Forrest and Milton Ice and Elmer Flood walk into a bar or a barbecue. If you don't have a drink, get your gold watch out for Psycho Clones and Dead Man Bay rising. Hold an infinity in the palm beach of your land. Myth end, fossil fools. Give 3 clears for the bite, bread, and chew if you can find one, lighthead. Pray, may all beings be free to pain and free to callow. Clean your clocks, old men, climb our cross, poor baby. Meditate on one test. Love all, laugh if it doesn't kill you. See doing the Brigitte Bardot. The shift has hit the football fans and there's no reverse. Like and share. The deeper your downside, the higher your inside. Oh, pucker lips and kiss your ass goodbye. To hell with the bucket, and jokes and jails all fall flat. The mind can't find the mind. Try again. All bingos must piss, but don't pay too much ping pong. Sing songs, but you better watch out. It's okay to cry. You better get your watch out.
Well, thank you, Bird. Let's see. I'm looking at my notes. There's a lot I didn't quite, these are notes I wrote last night as I was editing. But one thing I mentioned was parks, trees, vines are good stuff, and gals of truth. What a lucky fella, a nice hat. That man is far out. Also, I was meant to say that after Lanz, stay away from my drink, which I still haven't. It's almost 4. Whew, and this is 84%. I hope not stuck. Dear God. Anyway, yeah, and I was gonna say there's not a whole lot. Something about inspirational pieces and what an amazing DJ. How deep those snippets were from HP and Danette's character. Gonna wash that COVID right off of my hands. So anyway, and yeah, we're gonna carry on here, and I was gonna say after Rose's grandma, that's a grandma, good one, and then Argos. Oh yes, I had written a note, not to offend anyone, age, time, but how cool both Argos and Bird are. That should I get old, Jim Jones, all these guys. I hope if I'm not cool now, that I can be cool like them then later. Anyway, yeah. I think I said, who's this one after? I wrote, well, shit, man, that's some radio show. I may be a little jealous, but don't tell anyone. Let's see what else could possibly be floating around there for us. But anyway, what is floating around next, back to reality, is Danette George Rerun Martin Sills. This is a recurring character that I requested, and I do believe for time I'm not going to be able to air the entire interview that I had with George Rerun Martin in her quarantine space, but I'll try to include as much as can be included. And so let's see what's up with Westers, the Dreams of Westers, George Rerun.
I was just going to say that this is George R.R. Rerun Martin, and I am speaking to you from my secret COVID-19 lair.
Oh, good. I'm glad I found you. I've been trying to find you for like months, but I'm here. No one can find me. I'm safe here in the Hobbit Den on South Santa Fe on Galisteo Court, so no one will ever find me.
Well, then the point is, if you tell them where to find you, they're going to know where to find you. And that can go for germs and microbes as well.
You've always been such a know-it-all. I guess that's why everyone loves you. Because you know it all, don't you?
That's right. I am God in my created world.
You know everything.
So yes.
Yes.
Change anything in terms of, and especially in terms of the pace in which I write.
Which is?
That's very important to maintain that. That it's going to be weird, but we're still going to be here.
Positive weirdness. That sounds like Julesworks, and a good way to say goodnight to you, my friend. Here's a toast.
Well, I hope you're taking care, and I hope all of your people, taking care.
My cats are, I know that.
And be safe.
Well, thank you. Yes, sleep, eating, imbibing would all be great, but I am working. Please don't be stuck. Oh, God. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Rerun, George Rerun Martin. Remember that show, Rerun? The sitcom? Anyway, let's see. I mentioned earlier about where that came from and about the moths in New Mexico and the rantalogs and such. So, and I mentioned that many of these performers are new to Julesworks. One of the last guests, the last set of guests on Stephen Jules Rubin's radio show, as I said, were Melanie Lamb Faithful, who had brought along Regina Ress, who lives here in New York and teaches in New York and is a world famous storyteller. I'm gonna again have to make this shorter than I wanted, so but here's gonna be her Mothra Rantalog.
Something like that, something to that effect.
Take it away.
All right, well, okay, so just when you thought 2020 could not get any worse, swarms and swarms of mothy monsters did descend. And they came by the dozens, and they came by the hundreds, and they came by the thousands. And unlike viral creatures that strike unseen, these inch-long invaders they block out the light in your face, and they mess with your sanity if you have any left. Some of us have hardly any sanity left after all this other stuff. So in a sudden moment, they just showed up, right, in vast numbers, and this depends on who's telling the story. So I have heard some overwrought reporters claiming that millions of them have been just glomming onto their windows and their screen doors and in their bedrooms and their bathrooms. And I tell you something. One even had the audacity to fly out of the pocket my bathroom early one morning, and I went right into warrior mode, even before I had my early morning caffeine.
Oh,
and
rude.
Rude. that really was rude. And
You need to.
and these
Next time you let me know, and I'll loan you.
Thank you, thank you. I need you. Can I come live with us? Come over here, bring it. I'm just like,
Can you handle a 35-pound cat or two?
somebody I know said she goes nowhere without her tennis racket now. But
Okay.
here's the thing. These people, they do not. I'm going to repeat that. They do not keep distance. No. And I don't know if they're masked or not. I had not gotten that close to look, but some of my friends now, and it depends on their relationship to the natural world and their primal fears of whirligigs spinning in your face and around your rooms and in your brain, and they have gone on record. Some of my friends have gone. Well, no, they haven't gone on record so much as they've gone on Facebook. With horror stories.
That's recorded.
They have gone on Facebook with horror stories, venom laced curses, and I will not repeat them here on this broadcast. No. And there are tales of revenge that these people want to get, and their revenge, if not bloody, then definitely yucky revenge. Oh, and listen, here's the story. Pity the poor mailman or male woman or a male person or something, and I didn't mean to get into gender politics here.
Binary mail deliverer.
The mail deliverers, yes, you pity these people. One of them, absolutely, I heard crying out in a voice you don't even want to know what it sounded like. He said, "Try opening hundreds of mailboxes all day and have them in your face and on you."
They're in there and they come out.
And they come out. Oh God! Oh my God! So I am a bit of a nature. I am a tree hugger. I really am. Yeah. But even I was freaked out. At the unexpected experience bathroom one morning of three of these. They're very flappy. I mean, they're just like flappy.
Yeah. And they don't have good radar.
They don't have a good radar. And I have gone through all the 5 stages of. It's not grief. But those five stages of whatever's this denial and anger and bargaining and depression and acceptance finally. So first, of course, is denial. So, how in hell did these moths get into my bathroom this morning? I don't know what they're doing in here. So that morning I quickly did my business, got out of the bathroom, and I hope that was the which was not. That was just the first of them, because the next morning when I went in the bathroom, there were more than a dozen of them in there. And the next stage is anger, and anger rose in me. I mean, good pacifist person that I am, anger rose up in me.
Doesn't
not in my house. No, I will not permit this. Yeah, exactly. I smacked them around and I killed them. I did.
You have to. I mean,
my God,
Lots of weird creatures. They're old. They're like dinosaur old.
Oh, they're ancient. So then, so the next stage of that stage thing is you start to bargain with them. I tried it. You don't mean to be inside. You don't really want to be inside. You belong outside. Would you please come out this door? Let me. It doesn't work. Logic and politeness does not work with moths. I can tell you that.
They're not.
So I plunged into depression. I mean, I really have gone through all those stages. I plunged between the moths and the virus, of course, and the fact that I can't get in the swimming pool down at the Chavez Center and work it off a little bit.
Right.
I was overwhelmed and I curled into a ball of self-pity, and that went on for a while, but that's really boring. So finally, not acceptance, a kinder approach. This only happened after I read a great deal about Miller moths, which is what these guys are. And they do not want to eat all the Guatemalan and the Peruvian and the Indonesian and the Indian, both East and local cloth that I happen to have in my room, which makes me very happy and reminds me of adventures because I've been all those places. So once I learned that, I tried to scoot them out the door.
They're stuck in your house and they don't like your stuff. Is that what you're saying?
They don't want my stuff. So I say, look, here, go back to the garden. That's where you belong. You're a pollinator. They're pollinators, man. They're pollinators.
Oh.
Go pollinate and go migrate and arrivederci, please. Hasta la vista, baby. And so that's where we're at with it. And you know what? Here's the deal. It's not their fault. They're moths. it is not their fault they're moths, and they are much overshadowed by their cousins who happen to be butterflies. Okay, and the butterfly, humans love butterflies.
Pretty.
We celebrate the butterflies, and the pollinators are butterflies. No, the moths. There's like something like 80% of that species is moths.
Yeah.
And it's not it's not their fault they're moths.
They were probably, like rump in a last life and came back as a moth.
They came back as a moth. And so, and what I was thinking about with all this is that they're looking for the light, and we're all looking for the light. It's just that some of us look for the light in much more annoying ways than others. And if I could just toss this in here, people, if you see a big one, a really big one, if you see Mothra,
yeah.
Well, thank you. That was a good, truthful rant-a-log and those moths. And Regina has a very unique outlook on life. It's very, I wish our world could be a little more bohemian, obviously. But what can I do but make my own world and share it with you, hopefully. I hope you're enjoying as this is flowing through. As I said, this is very bizarre and interesting and fun to do. Recording this instead of being live and hoping that someone's watching. If I get it. Tech. Anyway, there is no if, only do. I wish I could have more time. But we carry on, we do our best, and this is a music video that Bird Thompson made and shares with us called Precious Human Lifetime. And I believe in that too.
It's a long shot, but you shot it. A crazy bed, but you bought it. A deep thought, but you thought it. So hard to get, but you got it. You got it. You got it. A precious human lifetime. Let me see your light shine. Shine it while you got time. Let me feel your love mine. You're not a ghost, you're not in hell. You're not an animal, but sometimes it's hard to tell. You're not a god, that's too much. You know what you are, so get in touch. Get in touch, get in touch with your precious human lifetime. Let me see your light shine. Shine it while you got time. Let me feel your love mine. Born on the earth, alive today. You know the truth, it's the only way. Your good karma got you here. The precious teachings are coming in clear. Coming in clear. Coming in clear. Precious human lifetime. Let me see your light shine. Shine it while you got time. Let me feel your love mine. Think of the possibilities. So many possibilities. And so now you got your choice. Use your body, mind and voice. Send your happiness everywhere. And the suffering, do you care? Do you care? Do you care? Precious human lifetime. Let me see your light shine. Shine it while you got time. Let me feel your love mine. You got a precious human lifetime. You got a precious human lifetime. You got a precious human lifetime. Dealer Rinpoche, Dealer Rinpoche. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Precious human lifetime. You got a precious human lifetime.
Wow. Thank you. Bird, beautiful song, good sentiments. Life is short and precious, it's true. And that emphasizes the importance of being oneself and doing what one loves, and taking, as Mel Brooks said, taking the serious things and dealing with them in whatever way. So we've got another poetical outburst, Jules and Jim, for doing a little more of Red Shuttleworth's poetry.
All things considered, life isn't bad.
Could be worse. This one's going to be called Trespasser on the Beyond, and you've been posting several times a week, yeah? QuaranTimed songs on your Facebook Live, right?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I've been playing a concert every Wednesday night, 7:00.
Is that what it is? Every Wednesday?
Yeah. Yep.
So they can look for that on Jim Jones' Facebook?
Yes, they can.
Every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain, right?
7 p.m. Mountain, that's right.
All right. So I'm going to do Trespasser on the Beyond, and then we're going to be treated to some music by Jim Jones. There was of sky turning black, valley twilight, turtle green tents, a sour breeze, the rattlesnake bitten hobbled to the factory. Sorrow carries no answers. The Vegas Pancake House had a bright turquoise carpet, off-work hookers, loose demon cutoffs and red lace tops. We drank bottled beer and stared at the changing departure sign. My bowel tangled, howl, my howl tangled postcards to Joseph Boys were eventually returned. His estate had no coyotes for a dispersal sale. We just started writing. We claimed to be the avant-garde. Black mashed potatoes with real butter, bison bone buttons. The children played Ring Round the Rosary under a black sky. You don't necessarily feel dead, and there is dreaming. Then Peter opened his mouth and said, "It's true, I perceive that God is no respecter of persons." A lot were in disbelief. Shame, the residue of sorrow, is also without answers. Wow. All right. Well, thank you, Jules and Jim. And it's the first time I would ever say that not hearing the fan on my computer is scaring me. 84%. Please go. Please don't be stuck. Oh, God. I heard a bird chirp. Please not too much more of that yet. Anyway. Stella joins the show. Of course she would. That's Stella. And speaking of moths, she's probably doing her job. Up next, oh yes, like I said, to be able to include people that used to live here, this fellow Lenny Hoffman, beloved for his unique music, bohemian. Speaking of, often accordion. That's what I was expecting. And his famous song, no one names their children Lenny anymore. But what he has sent instead is the greatest flamingo ever.
That's exactly how.
Wow, well, I just don't know what to say about that. Other than that, is certainly one unique, eccentric, bohemian, talented fella. Great flamenco, really beautiful, very. What a character, huh? Gotta love a little character sometimes. So, speaking of beauty and parks and character, here's a little more from Bird Thompson and his poem.
Letter that you think, look for the looker. Kiss the jay as it flies if there's any. Sing yourself to death. It's the endgame as we know. Overtime, oil field, whirly gig. Settle for a field coal. Help yourselves. Free you of hate and stupidity. Steer if you can the blind, wind-powered hearse into the peaceable parking lots of Uman, where a human lives. Don't worry about Cerro Umango, not anguish, and Umarays sunk in the sea. We're right on the topic of cancer, lots of lots there. Don't give a second thought if there's anybody running in the Ran of Koch or swimming in Lake Umaruma. Still in the chaos, listen to silence on KJNR. In dust, real civilization. An ocean of maladies can be cured by the great doctor of Elysium with the levity of gravity and Earth orbit internal. One more do, no more don'ts. For sure, no more busy nest as you use your all. Whoa, Emma, the yoga is on you. Part 2. Here's a doozy. Ooze of a dead dog's eye being dried out by the sky. Try and die again to the thought of thinking. Effort and doing nada are equally equal to some of the hypotheses. In other news, don't do nothing.
Oh, shucks. Don't do nothing. I like that. You gotta admire this fella for just doing what he believes. And thank you all. I hope you're still listening. Obviously, somehow you must be watching. And we're going to carry on with a little more from Stan and the Pandemic, posted by Devin and Lieu, and the great Andy Kirkpatrick, who used to often share his pieces in the show. We love Andy. Very amazing, talented singer. We miss him in the live show. But I took him from Devin's post of this. This is Stan's Pandemic Puppet Tips. Get it, Stella? Moth Killer. The cutest murderer ever, Stella. Andy Kirkpatrick, Devin, and Stan.
All right, folks. Andy Kirkpatrick.
got too much energy to switch off my mind, but not enough to get myself organized. My heart is heavy, my head is confused, and my aching little soul has started turning blue. I can't give you up till I've got more than enough. Infect me with your love. Nurse me into sickness, nurse me back to health. Endow me with the kiss of the man-made world.
Amazing. Yes. More.
When desire becomes an illness instead of a joy, that is built, gotta be destroyed. I can't give you up till I've got more than enough. Infect me with your love. Turn me back to sickness, nurse me back to health. Endow me with the kiss of the man-made world. Get out of here, run your fingers through my hair and tell me what I want to hear. Will lies become the truth? Speed evading you from my scrotum to your womb.
Oh my God!
Scrotum to your cradle to my tomb. I can't give you up. I can't give you up till I've got more than enough.
Yeah.
Infect me with your love. Nurse me into sickness, nurse me back to health. Endow me with the kiss of the man-made world. I can't give you up till I've got more than enough. Infect me with your love. Nurse me into sickness, nurse me back to health. Tell me what it is that I want in this world.
What?
I can't give you up. I can't give you up.
Woo! Woo! Applause! 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 That was amazing, Andy. Thank you. Everybody at home, hit something with something else for Andy. Thank you, Andy.
Yes, it's true. Everything I learned is through things like Sesame Street, Stan, people like that share their amazing brilliance no matter what. And here comes some more poetry from Melanie Lamb Faithful. Speaking of sharing, sharing is caring.
Right, there you go. This week, someone I know tried to blame slavery in the United States on Africans and Muslims. That would be like blaming your broken toe on your neighbor's new shoes while you were stomping on his foot. They said slave ships were fake news, which explains why they thought Obama was a fake president. What I really learned with this person I thought I knew was that hatred comes in all kinds of colors, but especially in red, white, and blue.
Ooh-wee. Yes, as we carry on, here comes some more tips from the return of Danette Sills and her character in this pandemical time. Let's learn.
Hello, and welcome to the second installment of my webcast, Living, Hopefully, with Pandemic. I'm Professor Beatrice Beetlebaum, head of the Medieval History Department at the University of Dunkirk, Nopedal. Today we are going to dive right into the Black Plague. Well, not literally, of course. Who would want to be doing that? I am speaking of examining the causes and the extreme catastrophic consequences of what we today call the Black Plague. Now, the Black Plague was not any one particular plague. It was a series of extreme illness, lulls, and a re-emergence several years later. The Black Plague was a devastating global epidemic of bubonic plague that struck Europe and Asia in the mid-1300s. The plague arrived in Europe in October of 1347 when 12 ships from the Black Sea docked at the Sicilian port of Messina. People gathered on the docks were met with a horrifying surprise. Most of the sailors aboard the ships were dead, and those still alive were gravely ill and covered in black boils that oozed pus and blood. Sicilian authorities hastily ordered the fleet of death ships out of the harbor, but by then it was too late. Over the next 5 years, the Black Death would kill more than 20 million people in Europe, over 1/3 of the continent's population. The plague that caused the Black Death most likely originated in, yes, China, in the mid to early 1300s and spread along trade routes westward to the Mediterranean and northern Africa. There were recurrences of the plague in 1361 to 1363, 1369 to 1371, 1374 to 1375, 1390, and 1400. Modern research has suggested that over that period of time, plague was introduced into Europe multiple times, coming along trade routes in waves from Central Asia as a result of climate fluctuations that affected populations of rodents infested with plague-carrying fleas. Of course, people today still contract bubonic plague. Approximately 10 to 20 people in the United States develop plague each year from flea or rodent bites, primarily from infected prairie dogs, wouldn't you know? In rural areas of the southwestern United States, about 1 in 7 of those infected die from the disease, but there has not been a case of person-to-person infection in the United States since 1924. Plague is a very serious illness, but it is treatable with commonly available antibiotics. The earlier a patient seeks medical care and receives treatment that is appropriate for plague, the better the chances are for a full recovery. Again, thank you for joining me for today's talk. I will return with the third talk in our series, The Spanish Flu Epidemic of 1918. And now, let's all take part in a modified version of Ring Around the Rosie, which of course is based on the Black Plague, to practice proper and safe hand-washing techniques to combat our modern coronavirus pandemic. Ring around the rosy, a pocket full of posies, ashes to ashes, fun to funky. We know Major Tom's a junkie, strung out in heavens high, and we all fall down. Thank you. I'm Professor Beatrice Beetlebaum. Stay well and stay safe.
Well, thank you. Yes, thank you. I sure do love all the music that's coming out of this pandemical time, if nothing else, on back to the upside of things. And we're going to carry right on here. This next one, as I said, Crystal often has sent in her, read her poem at the least, she used to perform and do a lot more as we would meet here, as a matter of fact, in the Hobbit Den. Believe it or not, was the headquarters when, but even before the times where you wouldn't meet, because of the way things happened, there was less of that. But anyway, she often makes the poem of a flyer or the theme, and usually there's a playbill that you would have, but you know, this ain't usual. Cat flying through the air. Oh, God. Didn't work. Okay, so I have tech stuff to deal with. I don't know where that remote went. And up next is Jules, Lanz, a little, and Lexi reading the poem COVID-19, a reiteration of a creation, written by Crystal.
This is by Crystal. It's called COVID-19, a reiteration of creation, and then we're just going to go back and forth. You start.
Okay. Pee-pa-poo and tra-la-la. Your turn, Jules.
Oh, line by line. Start over then.
Yeah,
Line by line. But no, line by line is good. Just start over.
Okay. Pee-pa-poo and tra-la-la.
Made myself a mask for my girlfriend's bra.
Kept 6 feet distance from my friends.
Ended up with rough old skin.
From too much washing of the hands.
Wore latex gloves to open and shut doors.
Drank way too much beer. Mainly Coors.
Okay, sorry about the chorus.
That's okay. We can have Coors. That's okay.
Lost my job. Lost my job as a waiter. We did cater.
Had takeaways for strange, long days.
My takeaway, just let me add, was this.
Nobody to hug or kiss made me
horribly depressed, just like you've guessed.
Then luckily, once again, I found my
get up and go. Ooh, came around, but rather slow.
Without my love, I would have never made it through.
My cats, they both helped me too.
Stanley and Stella cheered him up.
Hey, what the hell is she like talking about my day right now or what?
It's about you.
It just happened today. By just being around, meowing and purring.
Ooh, my favorite sound.
That's nice. But sadly, it ain't over, my friends.
It's a crying shame we can't shake hands.
Things will never be the same.
Can't hug the ones we love, continue to wear.
A glove or two if you must, and what a bust.
We can't perform live in these days of
gloom and doom, so we must use the silly zone.
So here we are. Make of it what you will.
Be entertained and love Julesworks Follies too.
And it goes on and on until we reach
a happy end, my friend.
All right, carrying right on. We had a tech failure there, but it won't be the end of the world. We will finish this, but it does mean that I still have not. But I hope you are enjoying, and thank you for all the poetry. And speaking of, here comes a little bit more from Bird Thompson and his poem.
Three. Dead and mum, help ourselves, we pray. All men, love all women. This fanatic Alpha and Omega bet is 6 7/7. Mind advice is, if you never see your breathers again, you'll never hear your twister nevermore. unless through a distorted speaker, but probably out of pelicans. You'll still treasure your little leisure and love your little neighbor unless she runs out of sugar, won't you? Don't think and drive if there's petrels. Don't drive yourself crayfish. Don't cease to love all animals. Don't fear the reaper or reap the furor. The shell, not krill. Donut hole your donut in what's left hand. Be a bee, not a dodo. Be a doomer. Rest in peace and look straight ahead at Jesus on the breath across the bridge of your eyes. 4. Pray for this wife. Through this gust of sadness may I rely upon you, my die man lama, meaning as though you were eyeballs following your instructions to the letter opener. It always applied, not just now and then, but talking to your heart always. May it be worth your I found out wisdom. I love you, Amenhotep, beauty and ugly. Let's not fight or flight on the church of Earth.
Well, Bird, thank you. Man, gotta love the way that fella plays with words and does his thing. This hat, if this were live, the tag's still on it. I might do one of our giveaways because I got it at a very good price, but it is not the right size for my big crazy head. But I got it because it was such a nice hat. Like I said, I don't judge if somebody wants to have a holiday whenever they want a certain thing or whatever, and important message going by. And we're going to carry right on with, let's see, where are we at? What planet is this? Oh yes, the next snippet of news. News is important, not fake news. In this world where we have to decide whether what is being told to us is real or not. This is Jerry running a marathon news snippet.
Welcome back to Jerry News Network. On tonight's story, a British man runs his own marathon by just running around in his backyard 7,000 times. Now that's one way to entertain yourself during quarantine. Get exercise. Well, if you have a giant property, then run around it like, 100 times. Anyways, our next story is Kentucky gamblers watch turtles race instead of horses. Since the horses are not available during quarantine, they just decided to watch fast turtles race. It's actually quite fun. I even betted on one of them myself. Anyways.
Time keeps on slipping into the future. Okay. As the cats carry on, sniffing air, wondering what he's up to, chasing moths. I swear it. I haven't. It's probably a problem. Anyway, thank you for that news snippet, and we have the speaking of poetry, the last bit from Jules and Jim of Red Shuttleworth's poems. So thanks so much to Red for sending those. He's been sending me cool postcards. They're nearby. And thanks to Jim Jones. And let's have some more very poetry.
Also from the book Anymore, it's called Salt Wells.
Salt Wells?
Salt Wells, yes.
Cool.
So here we go.
Yeah.
Hunger afternoon, alkali desert and Navy jets boom and roar, as if love and barrel racer panties are for lonesome real. A drink, a waltz down a bright pink hallway, then silence, wind and grit. After hemorrhaged you ain't Hemingway years, bleach jug, a mop, a teeth-pulled lady with a Dolly Parton wig. Listen good, son, when it happens to you. Lots of barbed wire these days, flesh-ripping razors.
Carrying on. Cat going nuts. Let's get weird. It says. We've got a little news snippet. This one, baby in the studio.
Welcome back to Jerry News Network. Wait, why do I hear a baby? What? Is there a baby on the set? Who let the baby in? Can we redo this? I need to get a cup of coffee. I'll be right back, okay?
Moving right along, and we'll be singing and dancing, romancing. Okay, we've got winding down the snippets of poetry from Bird. So, as he concludes wandering around that park and sharing that wonderful poetry.
Dad and Mum, help ourselves, we pray. All men, love all women. This fanatic Alpha and Omega bet is 6 and 7s. Mind advice is, if you never see your breathers again, you'll never hear your twister, never more, unless through a distorted speaker, but probably out of pelicans. You'll still treasure your little leisure and love your little neighbor unless she runs out of sugar, won't you? Don't think and drive if there's petrels. Don't drive yourself crayfish. Don't cease to love all animals. Don't fear the reaper or reap the furor. The shell, not krill. Donut hole your donut in what's left hand. Be a bee, not a dodo. Be a doomer. Rest in peace and look straight ahead at Jesus across the bridge of your eyes. 4. Pray for this wife. Through this gust of sadness may I rely upon you, my man lama, meaning as though you were eyeballs following your instructions to the letter opener. It always applied, not just now and then, but talking to your heart always. May it be worth your I found out wisdom. I love you, Amenhotep, beauty and ugly. Let's not fight or flight on the church of earth. No time, too light to float your boat, too for anything much, always doom and birthdays, ever more Buddhas too, rest. 5. The universe is full of plants. 6. Pray for the in-between. If you can't get it when life in this gross body is not already rainbows, wind colors, pure space south, and when you're gone moment, I pray for your ground light, pure from the begin. You can't see it, can't you? And then when Father advice dreams of your evil and peaceful and watch out, may you see them as your dreams, as dreaming and soaring and cutting. You pray you can be baby recognizing your precious face. 7. Maybe you pray of your ex-wife. Hopeful, foolish, and real dream, reborn in lotus realm dream, long time copper teachings to help all of them there where revolving and rotating and wondering what the hell. 8. Monks, monkeys, llamas, will all be monkeys' uncles, all but none.
Time to take all right, well, we've got a little bit more from Lanz.
Girls at Starbucks be like, I'll take an icy venti acai with no ice, extra whip. Actually make that double whip. And make sure you add extra caramel. Also give me a bacon, egg, and cheese without the bacon, the egg, the cheese, or the bread.
Girls at Starbucks be like, indeed, there is importance in getting weird. And one of my heroes, speaking of trees, Bob Ross, being cozy as best you can and just being yourself and expression. So here comes the Gregg Turner group that includes a Santa Fe music legend also in her own way, Sarah Meadows. Recently did some reunion stuff, punk bands that she's been part of, and been part of the cultural scene here. I've been here since the 90s. Sarah Meadows has always been a part of things, and another, also similar to Bird and I, DJ and creator of things, Dave Barsanti on the drums, with the Gregg Turner group, and other things you've noticed that we have a love of our cats. So check out this video and song, Heard You Call My Name, from the...
dawn, the sheets pulled back and the lights turned on. Well, how long has it been since you've been gone? And now as the years decay, I still can't let go of that day. Those men said you were bad, they took you away. I heard you call my name, I hear it every day. There's no escape and I can't wait. It's the price that I must pay. I walk out into the street, and each new set of eyes I meet, they're cold and distant marbles made of stone. Must I surrender to this madness, to negotiate such a life of sadness? There's no place left to go, to be alone. I heard you call my name, I hear it every day. There's no escape and I can't wait. It's the price that I must pay. Could this be some kind of weird illusion that's settling in my mind to ease the pain? Now shadows creep with secret dark delusion. Oh, they contaminate my moments of the day. I heard you call my name, I hear it every day. There's no escape and I can't wait. It's the price that I must pay. That's right, I heard you call my name, I hear it every day. There's no escape and I can't wait. It's the price that I must pay. All right.
I don't guess I'm the first person to ever have fun alone recording and changing costumes, but perhaps the thought that it's going into a movie file shared with whoever, I don't know. Anyway, TikTok. So we've got the last of our news snippets from Jerry and Lanz. A doodling kid gets a job. Let's learn.
Welcome back to Jerry News. Last week, we discussed Kentucky gamblers watching turtles race instead of horses. This week, we are watching a 9-year-old kid who kept getting in trouble for doodling in his class gets a job decorating an entire restaurant with his drawings. Then the teacher went there and she was like, "Oh my God, this place is so messy!" That was a good impression, right? Okay, well, our next story is NASA supposedly fixes the Mars rover Opportunity just by telling it to hit itself with a shovel. This may sound crazy, but this actually... Oh, God. coffee over here. All right, just forget that. Anyways, so that sounds crazy, but I watched a video of the Mars rover just hitting itself 3 times with a shovel. Now, on our next, join us next week, where we will learn about how a truck loaded with toilet paper got caught on fire.
Moving right along here, we're going to have a little more from all the way from Ohio. Thanks again on the upside of things to being able to connect to the world with this show, Leeman, Kessler, and channeling the great beloved Carl Sagan.
Greetings, I'm Carl Sagan. Like my good friend Howard, I too have found myself reanimated into this current new world, and while it's a fascinating experience to see so much technological advancement, so many changes in societal mores, one thing that I find all too familiar is the scurrilous, magical thinking that pervades this era. Indeed, we are of course living through a global pandemic, which requires the sharpest human minds coming together to come up with real answers for how do we address not only the biological but the social disease that spreads across this very planet, killing humans at a startling rate. And yet, how has society responded but with superstition, with conspiracy? If I were to write a new edition of my best-selling book, The Demon-Haunted World, I could devote an entire chapter to the perils of YouTube. So, if there's anything I can say to this current era, it is to trust in science, trust in reason and skepticism. Do not look for easy answers, and be very cautious of people trying to sell you miracle cures, patent medicines, easy answers. Those are not the way out of this particular perilous moment for humanity. And if you need any more help, might I suggest buying any of my books available at fine retailers everywhere? I'm just kidding. Or am I? Science. I've been Carl Sagan. Be well.
I love getting all these tips and information, expression. Yes, and speaking of uniqueness and being oneself, this one is again someone who used to live here, PQ River, and this is a new video and collage and song called "The Evolution of Evlis" by Evlis Coptic Nerve and PQ River. And I hope your stuff is kicking in for this one. It will. Even the cup that I've never yet put anything in might. Oops, the last one. Yeah, little tech error, which makes the daunting task seem more difficult. So, speaking of being able to connect with people, this next one is a little piece that I'm definitely going to have to trim down, but I wanted to give Dan B., Barakath, who hosts Dan B. once of Julesworks, a chance to promote his what he's going to be doing soon. He is on the road. As you'll see, we had a challenge of getting him in Arkansas to zoom in, while also the first person from New York, interestingly, that I've really spoken to in this pandemic, someone that looks younger than he is, and so it was interesting to speak with him about how he's been in his apartment, and he made a comment that echoed a sentiment that I had in particular after a piece that's coming shortly, as we get close to the end, about the zooming thing in a positive way, and then how it can be weird that because he's had such little contact with people, he said that that while we were with him and not with him, but how it would probably be odd when we get off. And I said, oh yes, I've definitely noticed that sometimes. So anyway, this is probably not going to be very much that I wanted, as much as I wanted to share, of Dan Barakath and Oliver Ollie Conant in two different places, like I said, talking about their new podcast for the pandemic generation and beyond. They're putting together 1+1.
For some reason in northern Arkansas, and you are an enigma, you are too smart for your own good, and you're a wonderful, talented man.
What we are doing to forward the narrative, Mr. Conan and I, which are co-hosting the new 1+1 podcast, which is the new non-performing podcast in the pandemic era of 2020. We are going on location. I myself have gone to the eye of the current pandemic center.
One happening podcast for the pandemic generation and beyond. Yes. Up next, and I just wanted to, no, it's not turning into winter. I just wanted to show you that one of my heroes who got to Kate Blanchet in a recent thing got to put on pajama suit. That is lovely to have a suit of any kind, and you might have seen a pajama suit earlier in the show somewhat. We have what one of our traditions. Our last two pieces are traditions. This one is one that is we don't recommend you do at home. It is highly unprofessional. No one, including whoever wrote it, have ever seen it. Chatting with God, the 63rd, and the last two, we didn't even have our God, so there's a lot of wondering if there's a God. And anyways, this one seems to be a return of God, and it stars Danette Sills, Rose Provan, Lexi and Lanz Mackenzie, and Stephen Jules Rubin. Chatting with God by Zoom.
Is this it?
Waiting around for something to occur.
The usual.
Pondering.
Life.
Not exactly the usual.
True, as we aren't nor have any ability, right, nor current privilege to be sitting on the edge of the stage.
Any stage.
Well, we are sitting on the edge of something.
Probably man.
Pondering.
What's all?
What does it all mean and why?
Lies.
Like, is there a God?
Whoa! Is that proof?
Is there a God?
Are you people through?
Well,
we could be.
Sure.
Time to go home? Oh.
Well, I mean, maybe.
We're already home. It's mandated by our wonderful governor.
Mostly.
It's the law.
It's the law. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Shit. I dropped my weapon.
I don't mean that. And language. And is one of you going to say what you mean, you people?
Oh!
Oh.
And
what
do you mean, you people?
People?
I mean, are you through babbling, pondering, as you say, and wondering?
Why is there so much illness in the world?
Troubles? Woes.
There are moths.
If there is a God, I meant.
Oh, that.
Ah, yes.
Well, thank God security arrived.
But is there proof?
Yeah.
We aren't sure.
That's what we were just wondering about.
I know.
I think I lost 5.
How?
Shut up!
Shut up's not a nice word.
And you know the answer to that.
There you go, Rose. What do you think, Rose? Is there proof?
Page 5.
We're on
Right,
6.
a little proof can hurt.
We're on 6 now. Right, we're right at your line there.
Okay, I've got 6.
Right, we're ready for you.
Their proof.
Oh, nice weapon.
Right, a little proof can hurt.
Along with a little faith.
I'm gonna cry.
Well, I could give you a plague.
You did.
I did. Didn't I?
Locusts? What about the locusts?
You kind of did.
Definitely
Yes.
moths.
Moths? Oh, hey, moths! What? Lance! Mothra!
Mothra!
All right. Oh, well, I could give you floods if y'all don't behave and believe.
Oh, gosh.
No, I get the boat.
You kind of done that too, haven't you?
In various places.
Oh, but that was a nice storm last night, though, wasn't it? Lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, you're right.
Language.
Shut up.
Drop my weapon. Just getting you back.
Ooh, she
Did
got
it.
you.
Ooh, good, she got you. Umbers!
You're right.
Umbers!
I'm sorry. I've ruined everything.
Oh, no.
You haven't done all bad.
What's going on with our God, Lance?
Oh, man.
Come on now.
She hasn't done all bad.
I think I said that.
Well, say it now.
Oh, you haven't done all bad.
Give her some support.
No, there are some good things.
God, are you gone?
No. I've done terrible things. Terrible.
But Lexi, don't you think she's done some good things?
Yeah, there's been some good things.
Flowers!
Cats!
Not having to leave the house, but still getting money as it's needed in our crazy world.
Yeah, fuck leaving the house.
Yeah.
Language.
She didn't say anything.
Fuck.
Language is great. Oh yeah. Hey, and can you maybe keep up this not having to work nor leave the house as much, but still having money thing? That'd be awesome.
No.
Whole epidemical thing has served to remind me to look for the upside of things.
However possible.
Whenever difficult.
Don't you mean whenever and however?
Ah, hush up now! Less than ever does anybody want grammar Nazism on top of all our other problems.
Even from gods.
That's right. Anyway, it has been a reminder to spin the positive.
Like, remember all the bad things even come to an end.
Everyone has a problem.
Or 3.
But we also have a friend.
Or 3.
If we are lucky.
And deserving.
Which we all are.
Oh, this is getting exciting. What do you think?
Yeah. True.
Rose?
It isn't me, is it?
Rose, don't you think it's true?
You were supposed to say, and whoever out there is listening.
You were supposed to say true first. Ha ha! But you say true, and I say, and whoever out there is listening.
Oh.
To help us get through
these days
and nights
and survive
and even enjoy.
Heavens me.
Yes, we can do our little best.
All right. Sounds like things are wrapping up okay after all. You don't need me. No one needs me. You don't need me.
Is God's leaving us? Maybe it's okay.
He is.
I think our God left us.
There's always got to be some drama before.
Hopefully, not much trauma.
Drama, mama, shama.
Mama.
Yes?
Not you.
Oh, right.
Pastoral, serene, and lovely.
Good for the world. Peace, love, man.
Yeah, peace. That's right. Look, peace to love, man. Shining clouds, a perfect sun, moon, shady, hazy clear.
A fair world for all.
Sometimes we have to remember what our cats
are here to teach us.
And keep reminded in our stuckage on this ground
that there is always some beauty to sniff at, stare at, or nibble on.
Exactly.
What do you nibble on? Life's other key.
Which we must propose, life's other key is to handle its technologies.
And to stop, sniff, relax, and enjoy. As with most curious, occasional, spassy calm as we can muster.
Muster! And flank, 2 of my most favorite words.
Good ones.
But you know, the only guarantee in life is
nothing.
Meow towards end.
That's why I come.
No matter what.
We wind up, give out a little sparkle.
And shine.
Do our best.
And hope it's enough.
Indeed.
And let the others worry about the rest.
Oh, yeah, good. That's a good thing that the professionals know what they're doing.
We hope.
Or is expecting that unsafe.
It probably depends on creative zone, proper existence, and circles, the circles.
Ah, yes. Let us do whatever that is.
All I really want to do sometimes
is find ways to relax.
And let the day float away.
Yeah, that's right. And some days are better.
And that's the best we can.
Well, we need to unwind.
Take care.
Relax.
And give it another day.
To our best.
Together.
Alone.
Even if we fail.
Failure, even better.
Could be.
Like we said, even bad things come to an end. Yes. The importance of being, expression, doing, sharing, as we get to the last piece here. And then I am going to have to do what will be hopefully one of the most, for someone not very good, experienced in editing, most zoomed in editing, because I've got to get this to the world. And I think I'm supposed to do a little volunteer work tomorrow. And anyway, it's not about me. It's about all of these wonderful people, and this is the finale, who have contributed. So I thank them, and thank all the inspirational people in the world. And once again, thanks to the Jean Cocteau, Chris Vivian with his tech help. We had to have a phone call. The long file failed to upload. Hopefully this quickly edited, not as long version you've been watching and enjoying, I hope. This is now going to not be empty very soon. And I hope you have enjoyed all the things and your imbibements and imbibed in all of these pieces that people have shared. We have a musical finale tradition, so that often, like I said, Terry Deers and friends have gotten people dancing in the aisles. So feel free to dance away. And again, not to talk about myself, but this is a montage that I put together of images from a Terry Deers salute and Terry Deers. This is music taken from when he was on about a year ago, Memorial Day, a salute episode. This is Terry Deers doing The Wait, and a little bit of something I made for Memorial Day that I played a little bit of. Again, time ran out. That I made from a Roger Waters Jules salute anyway, this was recorded off of Metaphysical Biscuit 96.9 FM. You can hear, you can catch the Turner Group. I think I lost his note. I apologize, Gregg. But soon he said they have something coming. And if I can find the note, Jim Jones every Wednesday Eve. A lot of these performers you can see around. So please carry on supporting the arts. Thank you so much, Jean Cocteau, and all the folks who made this happen. Thank you for listening, and enjoy The Wait. Take a load off. Love you all. Be good. Thank you. Take it away.
Poor Dan Nazareth, I was feeling about half past dead. Needed a place where I could lay my head. Hey, mister, can you tell me where a man might find a bed? Just grinned and shook his head, knows all he said. Take a load off and ain't gotta take a load for free. Take a load off and ain't put the load right on me.
Right on me.
Right on me.
Right on.
Lord, now I picked up my bag. Lord, I went looking for a place to hide. When I saw Miss Carmen and the devil walking side by side. Hey, come on, let's go downtown. She said, man, I gotta go, but my friend can stick around. Take a load off, Annie. Take a load for free. Take a load off, Annie. Put the load right on me.
Right on me.
Crazy Chester followed me and he caught me out in the bog. Said, man, I would do you right if you would take Jack, my dog. Said, wait a minute, Chester, I'm a peaceful man. Said, that's okay, boy. You just feed him whenever you can. Take a load off, Annie. Take you a load for free. Take a load off, Annie. Put the load right on me.
Put the load right on me.
Go down, Miss Moses. There ain't nothing that you can say. Just old Luke, and Luke is waiting on the judgment day. Luke, my friend. about young Annalie. Said, do me a favor, boy, won't you stay, keep Annalie company. Take a load off Annie, take a load for free. Take a load off Annie. Hey, put the load right on me.
Right on me.
Now, go and catch you a cannonball and let it take you on down the line. My bag is sinking low and I do believe it's about time to get back to Fanny. She's the only one who sent me here with her regards for everyone. Take a load off Fanny, take a load for free. Take a load off Fanny. Put the load right on me. Right on me. Yeah, Annie's had a hard time. Yeah, she was working that Crawdaddy Fest up there in Madrid. That went by and she hadn't had any work for a while. I caught her panhandling just the other day down on St. Francis and Cerrillos, and I said, Annie, how you doing there? She said, I've had better days. So if you can't take a load off Annie, take a load for free. Take a load off Annie. You put the load right on me.
Right on me.
Put it right on us. We'll take it, Terry.
We got it.
We will help you out.
Right, it's here.